Stop scrolling, because this flower might be doing a lot more for bees than just looking pretty. I'm talking about the sunflower. We all know sunflowers are incredible to look at, but to a bee, a sunflower can be a massive feeding station. Each sunflower head is actually made up of hundreds, sometimes thousands of tiny individual flowers. And that means pollen and nectar for honeybees, bumblebees, native bees, and many other pollinators. But here is where it gets really interesting. There has actually been research looking at sunflowers and one of the biggest enemies of the honeybee, varroa mites. Yes, varroa. And researchers studying honeybee colonies found something fascinating. As the amount of sunflower growing in the surrounding landscape increased, varroa infestations tend to decrease. In that study, every doubling of sunflower crop areas around the bees was associated with roughly a 28% reduction in varroa infestation. And it gets even better. Researchers also ran a field experiment where colonies were supplemented with sunflower pollen. Those colonies had varroa infestation levels around 2.75 times lower than colonies receiving an artificial pollen diet. Now, before somebody plants 500 sunflowers, throws away all their mite treatment, and comes back here to blame me, don't hold me against it if you plant sunflowers and your varroa mites don't disappear. Sunflowers are not a magic varroa treatment. And this research does not mean you should stop testing your colonies or abandon your normal varroa management. Even the researchers said more studies are needed to understand exactly what is happening. One possibility is that something about sunflower pollen is affecting the mites. Another possibility is that the sunflower pollen changes brood production or colony biology in a way that makes it harder for varroa populations to increase. We simply don't completely know yet. But what we do know is that sunflower pollen has produced some really interesting results in bee health research. Previous studies have also found effects of sunflower pollen on certain bee pathogens. So when you start putting all of this together, sunflowers aren't just beautiful, they're potentially an incredibly valuable plant pollinator. And there's another reason I love planting them. A sunflower doesn't only feed honeybees. Stand beside one on a warm summer day and actually watch it. You'll often see honeybees, bumblebees, native bees, flies, beetles, and all kinds of other pollinating insects visiting the same flowers. It's like watching an entire little ecosystem operating on one plant. And later, when those flowers go to seed, they can provide food for birds and other wildlife too. So if you've got a little patch of unused garden, a fence line, a corner of your backyard, or even just a few large pots, plant some. Not because they're going to magically solve varroa, but because providing more diverse, abundant forage is one of the simplest things we could do to support pollinators. And who knows, as researchers continue studying the relationship between flowers, bee nutrition, and parasites, we may discover that some of the plants we've been walking past our entire lives have been helping bees in ways we never realized. Sometimes helping the bees doesn't start inside the hive. Sometimes it starts with planting a seed. If you're a beekeeper, plant a few sunflowers this year and watch who shows up. And if you already grow them, tell me in the comments, do your bees absolutely cover them when they're in bloom?